Boom! We are live. Bienvenidos and welcome back, familia. I am Leonardo Torres, and this is our good friend Mustachio, and we would like to welcome you to another Taco Tuesday. I hope you all have gotten your daily dose of tacos today. I'm not sure if I'm going to have tacos today. We'll see. I know. David's gonna be like, bro, I don't even know who you are right now. But I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. Yeah, the glasses are those UV blue whatever glasses. They help me with the screen, so my eyes won't hurt. But yeah, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining us and being here. I told you that I had a very special guest with me that was going to join us for this breakdown of the lyrics to the song called Jireh. And I am very happy to have this person on with us today. Ever since we took a listen to his music and we got a chance to talk to him here on the channel, I've had some conversations with him. He's just such a great person. I love his heart. He's got such a big heart for people. I think you all might know who I'm talking about. But he is the one. Are you guys ready? By the way, are you ready for him? For this person? You ready? You ready? Let me know. If you're ready, let's get some tacos on the yeah, let's get some tacos in the live chat. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so somebody guessed Eric, somebody guessed Boiling Point Man. Boiling Point Man. That's awesome. It's like a hero name. That's great. All right, okay. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Boiling Point Man. Eric, man.
Hey.
To the show, man. So happy to have you on.
It's good to be with you. So many good guesses.
Yeah, so many good guesses.
Yeah, you know.
We got happy
with you.
We got tacos. Oh, it comes out like that. Okay, but we got people who did, who did some tacos. That's great, man. Are you ready to break this song down with me?
Yeah, man. David nailed it. Kenny FSFDG nailed it. Boiling Point Man. There we go.
Boiling. That could be like a new comic. I think.
I think we may need to change the name of the bands to Eric and the Boiling Points. Go a new direction.
Eric and the Boiling Points. I like that. I don't think I ever got a chance to ask you why the name Boiling Point.
You want a real quick synopsis?
Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, when we come to Christ, we are fundamentally changed. And just as water at its boiling point, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, reaches its boiling point, it becomes a vapor. It's changed fundamentally. It's still water, but it's changed. Like it's just as when we come to Christ, we are motivated, or motivations change. I need to stop talking so fast.
Enunciate.
Just as our motivations change when we come into relationship with Christ, water at its boiling point is changed fundamentally, and it becomes a vapor, and it goes out, which makes the metaphor even more powerful, because I feel like as Christ followers, we were called out into the world to disperse, to share the good news, and be Christ's hands and feet.
I love it.
That's the real fast.
Can we get some hearts in the live chat for that, familia? Excuse me, I had to cough.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so
right.
we all got a chance to listen to Jireh last week, and the lyrics are great. They're great. They're somewhat repetitive, but I don't mind the repetitiveness on this song because of all the wonderful things that are happening musically speaking. There's a lot of great movements in the music there for this song, and today we're breaking down those lyrics. First things first, let's take a look at this slide here, because I work with slides. I think I work a little better than they're not having it. I don't know. Last week I got really intense with the slides. I had questions and everything. All I needed was like a graph. But so we're breaking down Jireh today, a lyric breakdown with a song from, this is Elevation Worship, right? Elevation Worship with Maverick City Music.
Yeah.
Which I think they're just great. They're great.
This is a song that I would just lead with Maverick City Worship, man, because they like just totally take the reins of this song and make it just about as powerful of a song that I've heard in quite some times, especially out of the gospel genre.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible song.
And they're just fantastic musicians too. With our boy Chandler there leading. He's such a great leader. When he's singing, he just throws out a word and everybody picks up on where he's going. Right?
It's
It's
beautiful.
Their connection is so beautiful. All right, so we're looking at Jireh. I didn't know this, but Jireh means my God provides. At least that's what I found in a lot of websites. Some people say the God who provides, but the majority said my God provides, Jireh. And it's in Genesis. I forgot which one, but if you know it, drop it in.
It's in some of the very early mentionings of Yahweh and Jehovah Jireh, and it's the Hebrew, it's Hebrew, and Jehovah is another word for God, and Jireh I believe is provides or some. So that's the way it works out, I believe.
I think another one it said Jehovah will make it so, or something like that. Makes it so, or something like that, to that effect. But yeah, it means God, the God who provides, right?
Yep.
So I want to start off with a quote of the day. Here's a quote of the day for you all. Our prayers should be for blessings in general, for God knows best what is good for us. Right? I like that. Because for me, it just says I'm not trying to tell God what I need, because God already knows what I need. I'm just saying, please, bring forth the blessings. You know what's good for me.
Yeah, isn't that true? God just knows. God just has a tendency to know what we need, and we probably only have a glimpse of what that actually is. And sometimes what we think we need, it's not what we need, and what God provides is what we need.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes God must be like, "Oh, that's cute. You think you need that? That's cute, but here, let me tell you what I think you need." And so, you know what? Just getting into that topic really quickly. Sometimes it's not always a good thing. I mean, like sometimes it doesn't always give you, I think. I don't think sometimes the gift may be wrapped in a. Sometimes I feel like the gift may be wrapped in something we don't want. Does that make sense? Like it may be. Sometimes it comes across as illness, and maybe that could be some. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that we have a very limited understanding of how God works and how God works through situations, and so I think there is something to be said about God using situations in our life that teach us lessons about who God is and who we maybe need to aspire to be.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking about it now. Oh, you're so right. All right, here we go.
All right.
Moving on. Sorry, because
we have this tendency to just like get off on rabbit trails. I need to focus.
We need to focus. This is the first time I'm doing a lyric breakdown with someone else, man.
I feel like this is what our conversations, like our private conversations, are like too.
Yeah, for real. And you know something? I think I'm turning this into a podcast. That's what I'm doing. Okay. I'm not without meaning to. All right. Moving forward. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank the Great Spirit here. Last time I actually said a quick prayer, and I'm not big on prayer, but since this song is it touches a little bit on that, I want to just take a moment to thank the Great Spirit, and I want to say thank you for bringing all these wonderful people together from every corner around the world. We thank you for the endless blessings that you continue to rain down on everyone as you begin to heal them from their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual suffering. Great Father, we pray that your message of love comes through today as we have a conversation about the nature of your love for us through this beautiful song. I'm not sure how to end that. In Jesus' name, I guess.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Right?
Amen.
Quick thank you to our sponsors as well. Thank you so much. We have Katie Donovan just joined us on the YouTube memberships, and also Timothy, Patricia, and I think Mary Leanne were the latest ones. But thank you so much for your love and support. Because of your partnership here with the channel, we're able to bring you content like this one. So thank you so much.
And I just got my T-shirt too, man. So
thank you.
So order a cool T-shirt with the dog on it and stuff. And,
yeah, the pup
Archie or a mug, Archie.
Archie boy mug. You know what? Also, the site has stickers, and I added this to the. Wait, let me go back here. Shameless plugs here, but see, I had this sticker going on last in autumn, so we have the 333 sticker. Answer the call.
What? For someone who's like new to the channel or new to you, like what is the 333 thing? I've never been courageous enough to ask because I've always felt kind of stupid about like not knowing
no,
what it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, okay, so 333, when I started the channel, it kept popping up everywhere. I went to the store. Well, actually, it started, I was driving back from visiting Erika, and the number just kept popping out everywhere, 33 on cars, on license plates. And I usually just, I would ignore it mostly. But then I got to the street, it was like 3rd Street exit 33. And I was like, wait, this is getting kind of too obvious, you know? And then I get home, my mom tells me, son, can you go get us some carne asada? Because she wanted to make a carne asada, right? She sent me to the store. And she told me how to get there. She just gave me some quick directions. She's like, it's easy. Just take the street, get the street. I get to the place, the address, 333.
Okay.
And then I park right in front, and they have this thing with this like ad, and it was like buy 2 Gatorades for 333. And I'm like, okay, this is way too much. Like, okay, so for me, 333 is like, it's like God saying to me, be still, because I have something that I like. I want to reach you, you know. So that's why I say answer the call, because for me that's like God's call for me. And every time I see it, which something weird happened to me the other day too, I had to show my mom, because she was like, she couldn't believe it. I couldn't just. I had to confirm that I wasn't going crazy, because my phone froze on at 333, and it was glitching. It was glitching. It was like going, like it was shaking. The screen was shaking, and I was like, I know I'm tired, but I'm not that tired. So I rush over and I show my mom. I'm like, Mom, tell me the screen is moving. She's like, that's weird. Why is it moving? And it just kept moving, right? And then suddenly, like it stopped, and then finally the time changed to 3:35. Like it skipped like a whole minute. So whenever something like awesome happens, I just tell people, give me a 333, and we all know that it's just that the answer the call. Yeah,
I think David Wellman's got it right in Signs and Wonders. I think that's
Signs and Wonders.
God's calling.
Yeah, that's how I take it. So it's my call to be still. And so what happened later on that evening, I was listening to some awesome Deftones, and then I started feeling this warm feeling in my stomach that was just like, you need to be still. And
was it the carne asada?
It was the carne asada. It was really warm in my tummy. So I shut the music down, and I had that conversation, because, well, we're going to talk a little bit more about it on the 26th when I talk about we're having a live party, because that's our anniversary for the first video that I posted, and it was, yes, Brenda, we are live.
Live.
And yeah, it was just that it was a calling to come and to do something, to change something, because there was a lot of stuff that was going on in this household. My stepdad was still here, and he was terrorizing the neighborhood, really just being really childish, drinking and acting, you know, just, I don't know, just, we were just waiting for him to snap. And so I wanted a way to free ourselves out of that. And when I had that conversation, it was just like, okay, well, if you're ready, I've got something for you to do. And I listened, and here we are. And so he left. So thankfully, I was able to be able to help my mom out now, you know, and free us from 30 years of torment. So that's where that comes from. Yes, live party, bring your own tacos. Yes. Okay, so we're having tacos on Monday the 26th. You all are invited.
Like we haven't even started looking at the lyrics, and I'm like, I'm getting weepy, you know. Like, you know, this is the episode where Eric from Boiling Point and Leonardo cry together on YouTube Live as the people in the chat laugh. Or maybe join. I don't know. Hopefully they join us.
Everybody, that's the great thing, that we never cry alone.
That's right.
Everybody, you know, we're gonna have people who are gonna cry with us. So,
amen.
I always tell people when they go, I cried with you, and I go, thank you so much for not letting me cry alone. All right, so here we go. We're starting off.
Here we go.
Verse 1. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. What do you get when you hear that? I wasn't holding you up, which to me was a little confusing at first, because it's like, what are you saying? You're not lifting God up, you know? Like, but I get the word play here. I wasn't holding you up, but there's nothing I can do to let you down. I think the focus is on that last line, right?
Right. Yeah. And I looked at the totality of the verse and thinking almost about my own conversion moment, or the moment that I really started taking God more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had grown up in the church. My family lived across the street from our church, and we would, you know, be regulars in Sunday worship every weekend. And, you know, there's that kind of that moment where you just need to start, not living out your parents' faith anymore and make it your own. And I was in college when that happened, and there was just a weekend where I remember walking around the lake on our campus, and just really hearing God, you know, speak into my heart about, you know, who I was living for, and, you know, if I would be willing to give Christ my life, then you know, these things that seem like such a burden wouldn't be a burden anymore, and you know, his path would be my path. And, you know, at that moment, I felt just an overwhelming amount of dread about my future, and hopelessness just kind of melt away. And I remember being happier in that moment than I've ever been, and probably crying more than I have ever cried, just knowing that my faith was truly in Christ, and that my future was, you know, wrapped up in Christ's. And it certainly has been just a completely wild ride, you know, giving my life to Christ and traveling the world, and doing things to be Christ's hands and feet in this world. And it's just that's kind of how I view the verse.
Yeah, and I kind of had the same experience when I finally gave up my silly atheistic journey, and I said, you know what, I'm tired. I'm really tired of chasing and running around and fighting you. And when I surrendered and I dropped all of that, I felt, you know, my shoulders felt a lot lighter, and I was wrapped in this big warm hug. It's like if I was inside of a warm burrito. And and you know, I don't think I've ever felt that loved. It's definitely, it's something you can't really fully explain. But I like that what he's saying here. So there's nothing I can do to let you down. I think when can somebody please confirm that Chandler, when this song was being recorded or being written, I think his house had burned down. He had just lost his house. So this is just one of these songs. I think that it meant something to him, because he was still being faithful to God even after he lost everything. Like he lost it all. So if somebody can confirm that.
Yeah, and I guess I take that lyric as well. It's just meaning that, you know, God's grace is sufficient to cover, you know, a multitude of sins and things that we struggle with. And, you know, there's nothing that, I mean, you know, it just speaks to the nature of God's love and God's grace, that there is no limit and place that God will not seek us out and go to find us and capture our hearts.
Yeah. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. I feel like this is saying that we don't really need to go to great measures to be number one at something to make God proud. We can also make him proud by just maybe overcoming simple things, like maybe I stopped myself from honking at someone who cut me off. You know, it could be something that small. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a band, as a musician, this one hits a little hard because, you know, you're always trying to write the best song that you can, and, you know, get it to go to number one on the radio charts and everything. And that's kind of like this thing that a lot of musicians hold up. And you know, I continue to be reminded that so much of music is just part, you know, being aware of the journey and the people that God puts in your path. And, you know, I think early on we did learn that, you know, it was never going to be about the record deal or whatever, or, you know, or if we lost or if we made that our focus, we were kind of going to miss out on probably the most important part of this whole band experience. And so we really invested in the people that God put in our paths, and we ministered to them and they ministered to us. And I think a lot of that desire for success has just melted away for the joy of engaging people and meeting people and ministering to people and hearing people's stories.
Yeah. Unmerited favor is what Nani says. Shout out to Nani. And Jackie was mentioning some things here too. I'm not sure what. Let's see, where is this? Someone just pointed out that they walked into a whole different type of Talk About It Tuesday. Like I walked into a different type of Talk About It Tuesday. Yeah, this is we're doing a little something different today. But what trophies do you all? I'm talking now to La Familia on the live chat. What trophies do you all try to so hard to attain sometimes to try to maybe make God happy? If we can get some answers on that while we move on here with the verses here.
Yeah, there was for me, if I might speak to that while we're just kind of waiting here.
Sure.
I think for me, perfectionism was a big one.
Perfectionism. Yeah,
because
to be the perfect Christian, or
perfect son, perfect Christian, perfect life, kind of trying to hold up that exterior and just realizing at some point that that's just not a real thing. Perfection is not something that I'm ever going to get to in life. I seek after the one who is perfect, I believe, Christ. And so I try to be more like Christ. And, I try to give myself daily reminders to be kind and love people and do the work of Christ. And I think that's a better task, instead of trying to be perfect. Chase the one who is perfect.
Jackie just made a good point. She says she never tried. She didn't want God, so why give him trophies? So at that time, I guess she was she mentioned to us that she was on an atheist road as well before. And so the reverse is also true. Sometimes we want a trophy from God because, like, as you said, we try to be perfect, right? We try to be perfect with something, and then we feel like we should be rewarded for that, because we held the door open for someone, or we loved our neighbor, and then we're expecting some kind of reward from God. And sometimes that could be disappointing when we don't receive it. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to leave that one to the comments section. I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's just the way that I am, but I've never really expected just blessings because I was a certain way or whatever. I just like I said, I just try to chase my Creator and let things fall where they may.
Yeah. And in no way am I saying, Jackie, you were wanting a trophy. That just came to mind when you brought that up. David said that I think God is happy when I talk to him more. You know what? Honestly, I'm beginning to see that more on this channel. The relationship with God. I think a lot of people are pointing out that it's almost kind of like my mom. When I wasn't with her, when I wasn't living here, all she wanted for me was to give her a call from time to time, to talk to her. And so Eric's comment just reminds me, like, yeah, sometimes it's just happy that we have that conversation with God. Yeah, and
I think God. Something I've been figuring out a lot lately is that just sometimes God wants our. Sometimes our response, and sometimes that looks like prayer, and sometimes that looks like worship, and sometimes that looks like being generous to people. I don't know what a joke that I feel like I have a brain tumor or something, but I feel like God is just continuing to talk to me more and more about just be reacting to the needs that I see of people in front of me. And blessing them in a way that I can. you certainly fell into that prospect of listening to God. I'm sitting in my car, and I don't know how we got into the conversation about StreamYard or whatever, but like God was like, you need to, what Leonardo is doing is really valuable, and the joy that he has in doing it is really something that's worth celebrating and worth sharing. And this is just my thought process. And then I hear God like just say, hey, I think you're supposed to pay for his first year of StreamYard. And I said, okay, I'm open to that, because, we had done this Kickstarter and we'd been blessed by people. So I said, if people are going to bless us more than we were asked to be blessed, then I'm going to bless people who weren't asked to be blessed by us. And then, 10 minutes later, I hear God say, yeah, you're supposed to pay for the second year too. So we had that conversation, but Leo, when the first year is up, come back to me and we're going to do it again.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Dude.
I'm going to see if God can talk to you maybe a third year. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was totally a joke. Totally a joke. All right.
So, the deal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put it. Hey, I'm not going to put any limits on God. That's just not like, it's just crazy. Cause like more is coming and more is coming. I'm trying to respond. I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to respond to you, God. And whatever happens. And
it's going to, the blessings go through this channel. Cause I want to truly bring people on board here and talk about serious topics and answer a lot of the questions that I think I'm seeing a lot of people have really real serious questions with regards to God. And I know where I was when I was an atheist, and I know that some Christians, even though they are on the other side of it, they are Christians, sometimes they struggle too. Sometimes they feel outcasted and sometimes they do feel frustrated with sometimes there may be prayers not being answered. And my hope is to bring people on board that could at least shine a tiny little bit of a light into that and bring people a little bit more, move them at least away from the suffering and a little bit more towards peace, a little bit more towards love and
amen.
And so far that's where it's going. I'm very grateful for that, man. And I thank you so much, because now we're having this awesome conversation on this beautiful StreamYard that allows us to do things like have a slideshow.
That's right. Let's get back to verse 1. Katie brings up a good point. We're supposed to be reviewing article or lyrics. Okay.
Yeah, I hope this is a short song. Actually, it's a 10-minute song. It's going to be stretched out for another 2 hours. All right, no, I'm kidding. All right, going through a storm. So this is where
this must be what he was talking about.
Yeah, going through a storm. Yeah, but I don't want to go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. I love that. It's just like it's that you're going through a storm. You don't really know if you're going down or not, but you hold on to something, right? You hold on to the sound. It was saying like, I hear your voice calling, and that gives you a little bit of comfort. And there's a little bit of a struggle with some people who, what happens if so right here saying I'm going through a storm and I won't go down, but what happens if he does go down? Like, how does one I guess remedy that? How do you're asking not to go down, but what if you do? Does it mean that it wasn't God's voice? Does it mean, am I asking weird questions today? So
no.
too early? Is that's
you jumped off the deep end, man.
I'm trying to, what I'm saying is, or maybe what if you go down, maybe you could trust that you'll walk on water,
Yeah.
Walk on the waters. Who knows?
Let's come back to it and let the folks in the comments.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. Familia, let us know. Just make time for God. Let's see. God always answers prayers. He answers with yes, no, and the hardest answer, wait. Ooh, wait. Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. Shout out to Robert Montes. Just make time for God, he says.
What do you think about this first line of the verse? You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. Do you think that's in reference to the disciples in the boat, or what do you?
I think you would cross an ocean. So for us, the biggest body of water, or the biggest part of the planet, actually literally speaking, is the ocean, right? It's like it's vast, and I think it's saying if I'm drowning on the other side, you would cross that ocean just so I wouldn't drown. Like you would go through something so uh, long, like through a long voyage, and I'm just picturing storms and harsh conditions, and you would go through all of that just so I wouldn't drown. And I like you've never been closer than you are right now. I'm hearing this a lot in music, and when I heard this on this song, it reminded me of Hillsong's "Closer Than You Know." And in that song, I spoke when I picture Christ being closer than I have never had you closer than you are right now. It's being more intimate, more merged with me versus just next to me, being merged with me, like that close.
Yeah.
How can you be any closer than that? No.
Right. That's a good thought.
Any thoughts?
Any thoughts on? I've not listened to as much worship music, I think, as you have to pick up on this theme, but yeah, I just think it's an interesting part of life where there's moments where God feels so far away, and then there's moments where God feels so close, and just kind of the ebb and flow between those moments. You just never know how that's going to happen or when that's going to happen. I think for David Wellman and for myself, prayer is certainly an opportunity to draw close to God and just take a second to try to be closer to Christ. But then there's those times where life can be just frustrating and God can seem far away, and those are the challenging moments.
Yeah, Kim says, I think God's promise is we won't go down. So I get it. So in this last verse, it's already been promised that we're not going to go down, right? You're saying that as long as we don't quit on him, we won't go down.
Yeah, I mean, I think about I think that's certainly true as to our eternal existence. I struggle with the amount of mission work that I do in Sierra Leone. And just being in third world countries and seeing that there are situations where people really are struggling. Sometimes it's really hard to know what to do with. For instance, my friends in Sierra Leone, they live on $300 a year. That's the average salary of someone who lives in Sierra Leone, and so to make it in some of these countries is just really hard. And certainly Americans have to make a lot of difficult decisions. I know there are people that I know that struggle with putting food on the table or choosing to buy medicine, things like that. But those are sometimes the things that I don't always understand, and I wish I'd understood that a bit better.
Me too. And as we go into the chorus here, we look at "You are Jireh." This is the first time that the word comes up. You are Jireh. You are enough. So we're saying that God is enough. Jireh, the provider, is enough. That provides everything. Familia, when you heard this for the very first time, "You are Jireh" and "You are enough," what were the first things that came to mind when you heard these lyrics? "You are Jireh," and that God is enough.
It's interesting because he's basically, the author's, I think it's Chandler, right, who wrote the song. He's basically saying the same thing over and over again, right? Because Jireh means essentially enough. So you're enough, you're enough, you are enough, you are enough.
Yeah, and so that's and that's when it gets to that repetitive part. It keeps reinforcing that. I used to not understand that with worship music, why it would be so repetitive, but I get it now that sometimes it's meant so that it can sink in deeper and deeper and deeper each time, so that it's not just something that you understand intellectually, but that it starts to bypass that part of you that goes, again, like we're saying that again, and then it goes, oh, okay, you get it into like this much deeper understanding. And
it's an interesting thing too, right? Because it's there are overtones historically in music. I actually have a master's in theology, which is not something that I publicize very often. But my my master's thesis was basically on the history of music. And there's kind of this really interesting development that happened between times when folks were literate and times when folks were less literate. Mm-hmm. And so, there was a time in church music that, the population was not musically or just literate at all. And so the songs were made more simple and just tried to reinforce theological truths so that people who couldn't read or couldn't read music or just read at all would kind of start to embody these theological truths. And so, we saw that with the development of bar tunes into church songs, because basically people knew, the bar tunes. And so church folks would add theological lyrics on top of bar tunes to help them remember the melody, but then also start to think theologically about their place in the universe and about their walk with Christ. So it's interesting because we kind of came from that into like a really literate society that developed really pretty complex music with themes and sub-themes and kind of counterpoint and whatnot. And now I think we're into kind of a time in history when we need less complexity and more simplicity in kind of understanding theology and just getting these things into people and the way they think about them. So the use of repetition, I think, is more just a modern tool to get words into people who I don't know, may not know God or may need to just pray or think on that phrase to go deeper with God. That's why I think I think it's the bar tune all over again, as far as like the developing rock songs or gospel music into a more palatable genre that just the common folk can actually embrace and come to, and the church can use to help people come to know Christ.
And in this next part, Eric, it says, "And I will be content in every circumstance. You are Jireh, you are enough." And that raises a pretty big question, right? Like in every circumstance, have you ever? It's difficult to think, like, put myself in like Chandler's situation where he's not even at home. He gets a call. He drives home and his whole house is on fire. Like, he's losing every single thing. And how does one find a way to be content in those kinds of circumstances? Being anchored in God. I'm pretty sure that might shake someone's faith a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a place that I operate out of just in life, that I know I have kind of the head and heart knowledge that God is enough. Seeing it, I don't know. This is the line that I struggle with in this song the most, because I know it's true and I feel like I know that in my heart, but there are definitely times in life that every circumstance, I just struggle with it, and I'm not trying to be dismissive or anything. I'm just trying to be thoughtful about how I understand that. And he was certainly dealing with the fire and losing his house, and so I think that in that and through that, he was saying, regardless of my circumstances, you are going to be enough, and I'll get through this.
It's really challenging to think that you're going through something really hard, and to as Rosanna says, here comes faith, totally like believe in his plan for our life. And I think the hard part is not fully knowing what that plan is. Like, we're challenged, I think, daily to step into the unknown. And that's really hard for us because we're people that are fully dependent on things like our senses, and our senses sometimes don't lie to us. We see what we see, we hear what we hear, we feel what we feel, physically speaking, and so we know that if we saw something, we saw it, unless we're going through we're hallucinating or whatnot, but it's hard to have a little bit of faith. It's challenging to have a little bit of faith when you're not sure of what's to come, and you don't see in the current moment, why did my house burn down? Why did I lose everything? What's the purpose of that? And to hold on to something and is important, because you don't want to be upset by that. And I don't think it'll help you to be angry and then to try to find blame in something or in people or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I did that Boiling Point interview, your first podcast, I think podcast number 2 or whatever, I talked about that situation in which the first time I was over in Sierra Leone, we had a grandmother bring her grandson in, and he was 12 pounds at 18 months old, and we had to rush this kid to a malnourishment clinic.
Yeah.
And this grandmother didn't have any way to feed him or take care of his medicine or anything, and we basically just reached out into our pockets and gave her everything we had, because the need was just so clear. It's most kids don't make it out of that kind of situation, and so in that kind of situation, I have a hard time knowing what, and I've been angry about this fact that, there was this kid who didn't have enough to eat, and, where's God in that situation? I don't like to think about, I don't know. There are a lot of really simple answers that people like to give me, and they're not always very satisfying in understanding that level of pain or hunger, I guess.
Yeah, it's hard to see another person suffer. It's really hard. And a lot of times a lot of times we come down to that moment where we're questioning, like, it's where God. I can't help but think of the movie the Shack. Somebody, have you seen it before? The Shack?
No. I have not.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but
okay.
It's sort of this man loses his daughter, and he's going through this very hard phase in his life where he's trying to fully understand, and he questions God in this way, and it's very, very raw. His anger is very raw and very real, and he works through it in a way where he ends up in this shack, and he ends up having a conversation with 3 people that are living in this shack, or like in this. But he ends up in a place where he's talking to 3 people, and it's supposed to be the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, in human form. It's a really interesting film. I think I'm not going to ruin it for you, but you should watch it, because I think it does help a little bit with that. It does help you understand. I want to tell you some parts, but I don't want to ruin it for you.
I'll check it out. But all that being said, is that I don't think there's anything wrong with being angry at God. I think there's plenty proof, in the Psalms or wherever you might find it in the Bible, of people being upset with God and yelling at God, and I don't think God is, I think God is big enough to take my anger and my pain, and that's already been proven, in history through Christ. So, I'm just gonna just trust that God is going to be big enough to take all my emotions and help me process and work through it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Aaron said from Random Hero, that he sometimes he has these moments where he vents, to God, and he's like, thankfully God can handle, my venting.
Yeah, and I think if I could do anything, I think I would love to give just people permission, if they don't feel like they can vent, to God, because I feel there's some of that has been lost a little bit in just kind of blind. I'm not blind. Just we need to be faithful to Christ, but I think there is space in the conversation to be frustrated, because we only have a glimpse of what that looks like sometimes.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that's true. And we have the next part here is forever enough. Not just that it is enough, but forever enough, always enough, more than enough.
By the
Always
way,
enough.
David Wellman killed it. He's like, God created you. Your ability, I think, to surprise him is less than zero. Thanks for the reminder, David. That made me laugh.
That's true.
Not like laugh in a bad way, but like,
no, I get
it's so true. Just
okay, like a shortcut to humbling someone.
Yeah. Amen.
I don't want to forget how I feel. I don't want to forget how I feel right now on the mountaintop. I can see so clear what it's all about. What is the mountaintop? Do we feel familiar? What do we feel the mountaintop is here?
Let's go to the comments. What is the mountaintop? Is it a life transformed? Is it
I don't want to forget how I feel right now on the mountaintop. So is his love or the fact that Christ might be really, really close at the moment?
Yeah,
he makes you feel like you're on the mountaintop.
The way that God seems to be working and moving in his life. Yeah. Mountaintop is when things are going swell.
Yeah, could be. But given where he's going, what he mentioned before about, let's see, I've never been closer than you are right now, and then seeing here on the mountaintop, I can see so clear what it's all about. And that clarity can only come when you're closer. I would imagine, right? Because if Christ weren't close to you, you'd be left with your mind, and sometimes we know that the mind can be a little bit tricky and could make muddy things, make things a little bit more muddy for you. It wouldn't be clear. But when he's saying that he's never been so loved like he is right now, and he doesn't want to forget how he's feeling right now on the mountaintop and seeing everything so clear, because it's easy. Like when I had my first encounter, I felt really loved, and then I sobbed like a baby, and it seriously, like it stayed with me for about another day or two, and then suddenly life happened again, and I forgot. I forgot what it felt like until I went to Joshua Tree and saw the magnificent sky, and then I was reminded again.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like we're always kind of looking at God through our finite abilities to do so, right? So in our finiteness, we can only understand the complexities of God to a certain level. And so I feel like maybe when we're on the mountaintop, where that lens is kind of more in focus, maybe, mm-hmm. or we feel like it's more in focus, and so we can feel like we're understanding the love and grace that Christ offers us more fully. And then maybe when it's less in focus, or we're feeling more far away, like that's not always so clear.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good metaphor. I don't know.
Yeah. We're getting some good stuff. Of course. Oh, so first of all, Katie says that the girl that she nannies with before woke up and heard your voice and said, "Hi, Eric." So,
hi.
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 Yeah, let me hang on. Go ahead.
Hello. I think they're twins. They're twins. Little girls. Hello.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. Put your hands up.
Put your hands up. And then let's see. So Cam says, but we often don't know it's the mountaintop until we hit the valley. Ooh. Excellent point. She's just putting a little contrast in it here for us. And shout out to Eric. Says sometimes when we feel like he's the farthest away, he's actually closer than we realize. Ooh, yeah, because I guess that's true. So like in Chandler's case, he might feel like, God, why did God allow his house to burn? And he might think in that moment God wasn't here, but he's actually closer than he may have realized.
There's that. Is it the Footsteps, a poem or something where it talks about, there was two sets of footprints, and one was God, and then the footprints disappeared,
and it was only one set.
Yeah, and that was when God was carrying that person.
Something like that. He was like angry, like, God, why weren't you with me? And he's like, right. No, that's when I was carrying you. Oh man, that's awesome. I mean, it's clever, right? It's it hits home. It sends a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I carried you. Let's see. Okay, so stay by my side when the sun goes down. Oh, see, so here it is. So he's on the mountaintop, and here he's saying, I feel like he's saying, so stay by my side when the sun goes down. So when we think about the sun going down, we think about darkness. It's gonna be dark in our darkest moments. So stay with me in my darkest moments. I don't want to forget how I feel right now. Meaning, remind me in my darkest moments how I'm feeling when I'm feeling you close.
I feel like, don't we all want that? Isn't that like just a longing of all of our hearts? Like, just stay close. Because life, certainly throws us all obstacles and things that are challenging. But, I certainly remember so many of those mountaintop experiences where I feel like God has been so close. And that is a feeling that I often want to hang on to as long as possible.
Yeah. I mean, we
one of those, if I'm honest, I think, one of those moments when I feel closest to God, and I think, there's just no other way to explain it than it's, what I feel like God has called me to do, is that when I'm doing Boiling Point gigs and singing, and like so much of my life has felt like, I don't think I was a very good trigonometry student, but like cosine and sine and the waves and things, when I am either doing Boiling Point or leading worship or something, those waves start to reinforce each other, and that's when I feel God is closest. And when I feel like I'm doing what I was called to do with my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're like merging with your purpose,
right?
You're aligning with it. Jireh, you are enough, and it repeats again. Jireh, you are enough. I will be content in every circumstance. I think what I like about this song is that, so like it repeats right now. This is the second time we're hearing I will be content in every circumstance. I think the first time you hear it, you question that. Like that's the first thing I did, was like every circumstance, right?
Sure.
And then he brings up this mountaintop part, and that when the sun goes down, and it makes you think like, okay, yeah, I've had my moments where I was like really grateful. I was really grateful to God for the things that he did in my life, for the protection that I received without deserving it, maybe. And now that I'm hearing this, like in hearing it again, I will be content in every circumstance. That kind of brings me to think like, okay, like maybe I should be, maybe at the very least, come to a neutral place where I'm not angry because the circumstance is not what I want it to be, or where I want it to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and part of me, I don't know. This song makes me want to aspire to that, right? Like I'm gonna be content. I'm gonna be content, and maybe the more I think about it, the more I pray about it, the more I sing it, I'll be more content. It's a song I think that would actually maybe potentially play pretty well over in Sierra Leone. I think this is a song that those folks would sing. That God is sufficient in all things, even though like really terrible things happen in Sierra Leone. But this is something that I think those folks over there, when I go to church with them, would sing. And I think it brings up an interesting point in that people who live on the edge, or who are really familiar with how wrong things can go in life, I think have an ability to almost be more human than other people who have experienced less pain, or have experienced a less harm, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the more we've been through, the greater or more profound our ability is to draw close to God, because we know how hard life can. Those folks know how hard life can be.
Yeah.
And in Sierra Leone, I mean, they live on the edge of a knife. Like they have to pray that their crop is gonna be sufficient to feed them for the year, or they will starve.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of situations like that happen over in that country.
Yeah. That's tough. And you're absolutely right. I feel like all the things that I had to endure, like growing up in a violent town, like I did when I grew up in Compton in the 80s, was when it was the most violent. The 90s, less violent. And then now it's pretty much calmer because everybody's either dead or in jail. But I feel like those hard moments made me retreat into what love was internally for me, and to at least, at the very least, be still and observe what's happening, and try to understand fully why the violence was going on and why people were killing each other over territory that doesn't really belong to them, really, things like that. And it's just I think it just was me laying down the seeds to prepare me for this, really, to be able to talk about it openly with people. And I hope that in the near future we're able to discuss things like that on this channel, more serious topics like the violence and stuff that's going on in first of all in our country here, and around the world, because I know it happens everywhere.
Yeah, David's right. The song is based out of basically Matthew 6. I think if you want to kind of get a good context of where this whole song comes from, I think it's Matthew 6, where it talks about God providing all, and there's there's a great kid song that I learned in Sunday school about seek ye first the kingdom of God. And I won't sing it for you, but
do it.
I'll say it. But yeah, if I could just add a brief aside, I really appreciate the work that Maverick City is doing in the kind of the worship landscape of this, of just worship music in general, because for the last 20 years there have been a lot of really white voices in the worship, in worship circles. And I just really appreciate that that there's just a greater movement to include more perspectives and voices into how we understand worship. And I adopted a little boy from Uganda, and so representation, I think, matters in churches, and in culture and things. And I just take the Marvel universe for an example. We now have Black Panther as someone that my son can kind of look up to and have a superhero of his own. Before that, there weren't that many Black superheroes, and I love that that the song gives me an opportunity to say, look at these people who look like you, singing these beautiful songs to Christ. And maybe someday you'll use your voice to lift up Jesus and raise a song. It's
yeah, I think that's what's important about stories. I mean, we find ourselves relating to a character, right? And sometimes, just like you said, it's important that we find someone that we could sort of relate to, and we have some big voices like Chandler Moore and Dante Bowe, who are just incredible at creating that space, that worship space. I've really enjoyed. Too bad that the music is blocked on the channel and I can't really fully put their videos on the channel. But I would do so much more of their music at the permission, if copyright wasn't a thing. But you're absolutely right. It is important that we have that. What do you call it? I don't even know what to call it. I guess that on screen that we were able to see. we're able to see that face too, those faces.
Yeah, this really ties into, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about his politics or anything, but basically a pretty, like an icon here in the Twin Cities, passed away last night, Walter Mondale. And he was the vice president to Jimmy Carter when he ran for president. But ironically enough, Walter Mondale was a partner at the firm where my wife is a partner. It's called a firm called Dorsey and Whitney. And very early on in her career, he spoke some really true words into her career and who she was in saying that, someone asked him why he raises up or is such a fighter for women's rights in the workplace and things like this. And he said, because I think we all benefit when we hear from 100% of the voices, instead of just 50% of the voices.
Yeah.
And so she was really inspired by his view of wanting to include the voice of women, especially in the 80s when they were making less and things like that.
Actually, it's interesting you brought that up. Not that I've it's kind of related. Roxana, shout out to Roxana in Germany. She sent me a scripture this morning. I was reading through it, and it kind of touches on that. It says, I'm going to read it. It's John 4:7-21. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I found the first part really interesting. It says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him." And I like that we might live through him. Okay, live through him. That's important. We'll touch that, or we'll come back to it, but so that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. His love is made complete in us. That's beautiful. I absolutely love that. And which brings us to this next part. I'm already loved. I'm already chosen. I know who I am. I know what you've spoken. I'm already loved, more than I could imagine, and that is enough. Like more than our mind can ever even think about with our imagination. I mean, our imagination is huge. I mean, everything that we've created so far with the technology and everything that has ever been made has been from our imagination, creating it into bringing it into this world, and to think that we are loved more than our imagination could even possibly reach, is big.
Yeah, and then to further that, the greatest love is to lay your life down. And I feel like all those who come to Christ, it's kind of like our call, kind of die to ourselves, made new into a new creation, so that we might love the way that Christ loves, and lay ourselves down for the sake of others. That's certainly something that I internalize. Like how am I laying down my life for others so that they might know Christ, or might know that kind of love that I feel like I know. What and how is that reflected in our lives, in our walk?
Oh man, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for being on here with me. I know you've got tons of things to do, but I just appreciate these conversations, because I love discovering what love means for other people, and to see your heart, man, and to know that there's someone in this world that actually cares about people and doesn't really want anything really from people, but to love them is very refreshing, especially for me, having been an atheist before. It gives me great comfort to be more comfortable to explore Christianity, because all I've really received before was just a lot of judgment, along with some very unkind words that made me take a step back and say, I don't know about this Christianity thing, and I'm really happy to be here with everyone. La Familia has just been so welcoming as well, and I consider myself very fortunate to have met everyone, including you, Eric. So thank you for being.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just tremendous value in the way that you've been kind of just really public about how you've been struggling and your path and your journey, and I think that is going to bless other people in a pretty significant way. I hope that other people find your channel and just struggle with you as you had been struggling in that moment, and just that this channel and your journey can help others just move towards a relationship with Christ. I think that's what's really beautiful about how you've been really open with where you're coming from.
Honestly, I didn't think that the channel would ever bring me to the point where before I dropped the non-Christian title, I was already seeing messages from people thanking me because they were now, exploring their faith with Christ. And I thought, like, for me, like, from this channel, like, I'm just listening to music, man. I wasn't at that time, I wasn't pointing people to Christ. I myself was just walking towards them, and now that I've dropped the non-Christian title, I feel like a huge sense of responsibility to be able to talk a little bit more about it, and to also, with everyone's permission, be a voice for the people who have been hurt by the church, and people who may still be upset and walking in disbelief. I'm not saying that I want to push them to believe, but I do want to be their voice a little bit and speak up about that, and maybe get them the answers that they want without all the extra sarcasm and cynicism that I used to approach it with, so that they can at least come to the door with me. Because I mentioned that in one of my videos. I said, look, I'm just at the door. I'm just watching. I'm listening to the music. I'm reading the stories, and I'm just at the door. And if I could just bring people to the door, let them decide whether or not Christ is for them, without giving them that shove or that push that, like, dude, don't you want to be in heaven, or do you want to burn in hell? Like, I don't want to use those tools to move them. I just want to love them, man. I just want to love on people, and let them see that love let that love move them in that direction. Let that love move them in the direction of God,
Yeah. And I think that you've done a really good job of creating a path to allow people to explore that possibility. And I think you hit on something that's really important. We live in a culture that's incredibly cynical, and if you can't show people where you are or how you got there and just talk about it, I don't think people are going to take that as well as someone who's been on the path and has been showing people their struggle with the path. I feel the same way about being in mission or being Christ's hands and feet. Like, people are so cynical. If the only thing you're going to do is talk about Jesus and don't go out and do something to be Jesus, you're probably going to lose a lot of people. So, like, mission in Sierra Leone is the way that we try to show Jesus to people and say, we feel called to this because Christ has led us down this path to doing this. Anyway, I'm just going to stop there because I know we have to keep going.
No. But yeah, I see what you're saying, man. So back to it. Thank you, Familia. Thank you all so much for being on this conversation. We're talking about the lyrics, but we also are talking about some other stuff, and I appreciate that everybody's still engaged in the conversation. I like this part. The bridge, I think, was one of my favorite parts here. It says, if he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more will he clothe you? If he watches over every sparrow, how much more does he love you?
And this is out of Matthew 6. This is straight out of Matthew 6, I think.
And then again, just the outro is, Jireh, you are enough. It repeats that again in every circumstance. So I love that it's not just saying you're good enough in every circumstance. It's pointing out the highs and the lows. And if we are created in his image, and he takes care of the animals who were not created in his image, how much more would he care for you. It's like if, like, for example, like if I put myself in that place, like I love my Archie boy. He's my boy, and he hasn't been eating well lately. I think he's protesting because I think he wants more time with me. And so I feed him and I stay with him and then he eats. But if I just set the food and I leave, he's like, he'll look at it and then he'll just lay down and won't eat. So what I've been doing is I set his food down and then I go, I love you, Archie boy. And I kind of give him like a half hug and I say, good boy. And he'll start eating it. Right. And if I take care of him in that way, what are my daughters to expect? Like how much more am I going to love my daughters whom I gave life to? I took care of them, and I imagine that it would be the same way for God. It's like, yeah, I made everything. I made the animals. I make the earth, even though you ungrateful punks are not taking care of the earth. I made all of that stuff, and I made you, and I love you, even though you destroy each other and destroy the planet. But it's cool. I still love you. I think it's wonderful. I think that's a wonderful thing to see and to hold on to, and maybe bring us a little bit to towards gratitude.
Yeah. Right? Well, first of all, Kenny says spend some time with your dog.
Oh yeah, I have been. I have been. I have been.
Good.
It could be that, I don't know, but yeah, for sure he decided to eat after I practically I practically had lunch with my dog is practically what I'm saying. I went out to lunch with my dog. It's more than you ask. It's more than you ask, think, or imagine. I don't understand this part. It's more than you ask, think, or imagine according to his power working in us. It's more than enough. Can somebody clarify that for me? Because this is where I kind of like, this is stepping into territory that, and this is the last line, I believe. Yeah, this is the last line. So we're wrapping it up here, but this is really where I wasn't 100% sure. It's more than you ask, think, or imagine. Well, let me see you are enough. Oh, it's more than you ask. Maybe the lyrics where I got it from, maybe said it's more than I ask, think, or imagine. I don't know. Can somebody answer that for me? I'm drawing a blank here. I must be hungry.
It's time for some tacos de cecina.
Yeah, I think it's Taco Tuesday. It's time for some tacos. If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Ooh, I love that. David. Yeah, so that pretty much Erika says that's my cue to go make some tacos. Oh no, we're not. She's not making them. We're gonna go buy some.
Oh, sounds fantastic. I had Noodles and Company for. Is that what it is? Noodles and Company for lunch. After I bought my new webcam, so I could do this with you.
You didn't have a webcam?
The camera on my MacBook Pro is not working, and I can't get it to work. So I don't know.
Yeah, familia. See, another thing against the Apple company.
No one cares about my webcam. Let's.
Just kidding.
What else do we need to talk about?
No, I think that's it. So somebody pointed out that you, as in us, the congregation. So it's more than the congregation asks, thinks, or imagine, according to his power working in us. His power working. We're probably gonna have to turn this into another conversation another time about this, his power working in us, because I've come to realize that there are people that are divided about this, that God doesn't work in people anymore, or that God doesn't do miracles in people's lives anymore, things like that. So I want to have that conversation. Maybe bring up a couple of people.
Yeah, you should have that conversation.
Yeah, I think it
would be a good one.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. All right. I think that's it. That pretty much wraps up the song. I really like that song. I think out of 5 Archies, I give it 5 Archies. I would give it 5 Archies. How many tacos would you give it? How many boiling points would you give it?
Yeah, let's give it 5 flames.
5 flames. Can I get some fire in the live chat? I mean,
in spending 30 minutes of my life listening to it 3 times.
Yeah.
I definitely started crying two or three of those times. So
yeah. The drummer and bass player do an excellent job here. I love Chandler is really talented too. When he gets behind the keys, he's very passionate in his singing.
Yeah, and I mean, I just love that choir. That choir of voices just singing away, belting it out, just as loud as they can. It's just so inspiring. And just, I just want to jump in there and just sing along with them.
Yeah, me too. Maybe just give me a what do they call it?
Tambourine.
A tambourine. Yeah, give me a tambourine. Give me a cowbell.
Get the man a tambourine.
No, give me a cowbell instead, so I can say, you know what this song needs? More cowbell. Yeah, man. Thank you, familia. Thank you so much for spending this beautiful time with us. Eric, thank you for taking the time to hang with us and give us your input. I love the conversation. It was very insightful.
Let's do it again sometime. I need, like I said, I need to get my lights and stuff, worked out. So
yeah, we'll get.
So don't look as pasty as I do in a Minnesota spring. But
are you by a window?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you got the best lighting of all, man. You got God's lighting right there, just shining down right.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You look great, man. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Have a happy Taco Tuesday. We appreciate you all so much. Before we leave, familia, one thing, because I noticed that some of you were asking for prayers. So take advantage of this time right now. And if there's anyone that you would like to pray for, mention them in the live chat. Just mention them by name. If there's a city or anybody in particular that you want to have prayers for, mention them on the live chat. And everyone, as you're reading those names, if you could just please offer a prayer for that person. And we're also, if you don't want to do it here and you want to do it on a more private setting, we have a Discord channel. We have a server that you can also request prayer privately. We have, Erica, thank you so much. Erica just posted the link there. You can click on that link, join us on Discord, request prayer, or meet some great people too. We're going to have some pretty awesome stuff coming up soon. We're going to have movie nights. And what else did we plan? We spoke about having like
we're supposed to do like some sort of, remember, a talent show kind of
thing?
Like
a talent show, maybe like an open mic thing. Yeah, open mic night type of deal. Just get some people involved and distract ourselves in a positive way. So we're lifting up Tanya, Grace's mom. Pray for Susan Santos. Pray for BP and Eric and his family. Thank you, Robert. Just putting someone here on the screen. Thank you all so much. I wish I had music in the background. That'd be great, but okay, we'll provide our own music. Signed up today, she said. Huh? Excellent. All right, Eric, my friend, thank you so much. Appreciate you so much for being on here with me. We'll talk soon. All right. All right, everybody. Hasta luego. See ya. Bye. I never know how to end.